What are your crimes, Mark? Yes, what are your crimes, Mark? Did you beat your wife? Did you kick up Huck? Well, find your crimes or make it up. Did you laugh at Hubbard? That's not nice, and now you'll have to pay your price. So what are your crimes, Mark? What have you done? Oh, it's too late now. Fair game's begun.
Crimes, crimes, crimes. How about if I go on to the UI there I am. Hello, everybody. So, as I was about to say, crimes, crimes, crimes. This evening is going to be all about crimes. Not necessarily my crimes, but crimes of those around me. Like Lupita. I'm sure Lupita is full of crimes. Hello, Lupita. Nice to see you. And Jay, noted criminal Jay, here as well. CJ, my never-in avatar, it's nice to see you. Hello to you. We're hunting down crimes tonight, and we're specifically going into the courtroom to listen to a little, listen to the opening statement in the Jesse Prince criminal trial way back when in around, I think it was 2001. Michael's here. Darn, I want to hear all about my crimes. Well, they're too vast to get into in just one show. But I'm sure that we can dig some up. Hey, I have been laboring over bringing some of this Jesse Prince trial back into the public eye. I had the entire audio of Jesse Prince's trial on the Xenu TV website. And I recently found all the DVDs I had of that website. So there were some files of the audio that I could take and improve. So that's what I've been working on, improving those. Jay says, I'm hoping Kelly can drop the membership link when she gets in. Can't do it on my laptop. Oh, okay. There you go. Kelly's on it right there. Boom. And the live notification pulled in Hank 209er. Glad that worked out. I was planning to get this on much earlier, but everything takes me far longer than it should. For instance, this short piece of audio that we're going to be listening to, I spent several days getting this prepared, and it didn't seem like an impossible feat when I started. I thought, oh, look, I've just got audio. I should be able to put the entire trial up on YouTube again. And no, it's not that easy. And we'll go through the process. But there was a whole bunch of stuff I needed to do to try to make this 21st century ready, or even 22nd century. Got a plan for the future. Lapita just got home. Welcome. Okay, so we have folks rolling in. This trial goes back to the LMT years, and Jesse Prince was the vice president of the Lisa McPherson Trust, which was in existence from the beginning of 2000 till the end of 2001. I think I fled town in November of 2001. And that's right, I fled town. Jay's a new member. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Helps enormously. Welcome to the fold. So Jesse was not only the vice president of the Lisa McPherson Trust, but he also was an expert witness for the Lisa McPherson criminal trial. And criminal or civil? I'm trying to think now. It may have been civil. Yeah, I think he was working with Ken Dandar, so that would have been the civil case. And boy, oh boy, Scientology wanted to stop Jesse from being allowed to testify. And they went to great lengths to set him up and get him arrested. And that's what we're going to be dealing with tonight. We'll give you a little background on that, and we'll play the opening arguments of the terrific attorney, Dennis DeFlaming, who not only... what's going on here? I got beard trimmings. Look at that. I shaved. I did a little shaving right before coming on here, and those trimmings are hanging on me. So Dennis, we kept him busy at the LMT because he defended Bob a couple of times. He defended me when I was arrested in Chicago, and he defended Jesse in this case where Jesse was set up on a drug charge. And a Banana 1701-A, I guess that's the original Enterprise. Welcome. I'm glad you're catching a live with us here. Kind of inching a little earlier in the evening, but still, I was still frantically putting this stuff together for tonight. Kenny's here. Hey, Kenny. Hi to you. So what I have is audio. And the judge in this case, and I don't remember the judge's name in this, although I've got some. I just discovered that I've got a bunch of PDFs of the depositions that I'll be able to go through for future streams when we get into some other testimony in this. So I'll have more background material as we present a little bit more of the trial. Tonight, I'm just going to play the opening arguments that Dennis gave, because I found that this 11-minute segment took me several days to put together. That's right, several days. And you know, I can't say I make it easy on myself. I could just take the crappy sound that I had from the LMT years and just put the crappy sound up. But no, I want to make it sound better. And then I make it sound better. I go, well, it's still not good enough. I better have subtitles. Let me create some subtitles. And then, okay, well, I got to put, got to do this. I got to do that. Got to do the other thing. So this is one of those Cecil B. DeMille productions where I just go overboard. But I pretty much do that for everything. Marcy's here. Hey, Marcy. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got An American in Paris playing in my mind right now. I'm listening to an audiobook biography of Gene Kelly, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. I'm on a little Gene Kelly kick right now. For the past many, many months, I've been taking his films and upscaling them to 4K 60 frames per second. So when you're watching Singing in the Rain, it's like you're on the set with them. And then I decided, well, let's go through the whole MGM series. So everything from Wizard of Oz till the late 50s. So that's in process. And I realized there are some Gene Kelly films I have never seen. And so I'm trying to catch up on those, including things that he didn't think were successful, that were minor films. And one that I hadn't even heard of, but I got a copy of it because I went through the filmography and said, well, let me track that one down. This one, that one. And it was a pretty much a straight movie It did not originally have songs in it, but when Gene was cast, they added 3 dance numbers to it. And you can tell this is not the Arthur Freed unit. The Freed unit are the folks who did all the great MGM musicals, like, well, from Meet Me in St. Louis to Singing in the Rain, and basically anything that was really classic from MGM came from the Freed unit. And this was from a secondary unit, and I forget the producer's name on this one, but in it, Gene Kelly shoehorned 3 numbers. One is a dance number with the female lead who couldn't dance. And you could tell that this was not the big budget thing, because there are times when the camera like jerks, and that would never be allowed in a Freed film. And then there's another one he did with a dog, which is kind of entertaining. He's got a trained dog who's like helping him sing a love song to the female lead who's up in a balcony looking down on him. And that's charming. And then he's got a third number he created with him and a bunch of the neighborhood kids at a construction site, where he's climbing up things and swinging around and doing all sorts of stuff and delighting the kids. I'll see if I can find those to play for you at some point if you're interested. At any rate, we're not here for Gene Kelly, but I'm sorry, I'm on that Gene Kelly kick. So I ran to the store, and some of the book was playing in the car when I did that. I ran to the store because my cats needed some food, and look, they even got treats out of it. And then, you know, the damn annoying stores around here. I don't know if you've got Publix, but they have the buy one get one frees, the BOGOs, every week. And I walk in the store, and they're right there are their freshly baked cookies. Buy one get one free, and I'm sorry, I bought some cookies, which is, you know, I shouldn't do that. But enough about me and my crimes of eating cookies. We are, as I mentioned, at least they weren't brownies. Yeah, brownies sound good now. And I have to go back and get some brownies. Oh, no. So here we go. Let's start talking about this trial of Jesse Prince. Because Jesse was, as I mentioned, he was going to be an expert witness in the Lisa McPherson civil death trial. And Scientology spared no expense to set him up on a drug charge. And I'm going to play for you the opening argument of Jesse's attorney, Dennis DeFlaming, who is a great attorney. He's one of the top defense attorneys around here in Florida. I'm very proud that he's been my attorney over the years, and he has been a great supporter. And he has endorsed me in both of my races, and I greatly appreciate that. His law office is just down the block from me here, and so there are always signs up there for my campaigns when they're up and running. So I want to show you just to start off a little clip of Dennis in an interview I did with him somewhere around 2011, I believe. It's just a short excerpt of this interview, and let's take a look at that, shall we? Here's.
Prosecutor said on May 7th.
Oh, that's not the. Oh, I got the wrong one. That is Dennis, but that's not the one I wanted to play first. Here we go. This is the one.
I left the state attorney's office in 1975. I was a prosecutor from 72 to 75. I was a wet behind the ears, in my 20s, young lawyer, just starting out. When the Church of Scientology first came into town, they bought property under an assumed name. And when the citizenry found out that it was the Church of Scientology buying up all of this land and the Fort Harrison and so forth, we felt duped. And our mayor at the time, Mayor Cazares, was very forceful in calling them out and criticizing them for this and for who he felt they were. Well, in the inevitable way of the church, they wanted to go after Cazares. And they came in my office that had been open for 6 months or so. And 2 men came in, and I was hungry. And they sat down and they wanted me to sue Gabe Cazares in federal court, and they wanted it done within 48 hours. And they started telling me what to do. And I had to make a decision, and I was a very young lawyer, about whether I wanted to do that and join that side. And I said I had to think about it, and the next day I called up and I said I'm not interested in being the lawyer. So it started with our mayor, no criminal charges and so forth, but they were trying to stake their right to be here, and they wanted to let everybody know they were not leaving.
Yeah. Yes. Come on. Where am I? Can I please just get on the screen? Thank you. How rude. I talk to the people in the control room. Yeah, Dennis, I'm so glad that he made the choice that he made to not work for Scientology. Scientology wound up hiring the top law firm in the city, and they still use them. Pope Johnson, or Johnson Pope. Paul Johnson was the main attorney for Scientology during those years when Scientology first snuck into town. And he also appeared at the end of the 1982 Clearwater hearings to give the Scientology response to the week's worth of damning testimony about how Scientology behaves. And his sum total for his contribution in the hearings was, I'm not going to tell you anything. This is injustice. All these people are ne'er-do-wells and they're making crap up. We're not going to dignify this with a response. Just this response, which is undignified enough. So I was aware of him before I arrived in town, and I had a chance to not only see him in action, but actually have him grill me on the witness stand. And by this time, it was pretty much toward the end of his career. And I forget exactly what I was testifying for. It had to be probably in one of Bob's things. And I was on the stand, and Paul Johnson was grilling me. And he brought up a piece of videotape that he wanted to show, and he played it in the courtroom, and it was a video of me in the middle of 1999 when these two Scientology handlers, Spencer and Croc, were following Bob and Stacy everywhere and saying horrific things. And they played this clip of me coming up to the camera and going, did you ever fuck anybody in the auditing room? And once they showed that, I said, well, yeah, but you didn't show the part right before that was referring to. That was when the Scientology handler Spencer had asked that question of Stacy. It's kind of rude. So I asked it back to him as I was getting into the car. And the judge said, is that true? There was more to this tape that you haven't shown us? And he was very upset with Paul Johnson and Scientology over that. But that's not an unusual tactic of Scientology to just show a little bit of the encounters. In fact, once we actually talked to Jerry Armstrong, we'll go into how he was set up with what was the name of the covert action was the Loyalists, and it was Mike Render and another person back in the 80s, shortly after Miscavige took over. They told Jerry, listen, we are believers in Hubbard, but Miscavige, man, this guy's a monster. We got to figure out a way somehow to take this thing over or whatever. And they were enlisting Jerry's aid for suggestions on how to, take over Scientology. And it was all a sting operation in the park there, Griffith Park. And they had a van apparently somewhere with a camera, and people were mic'd as they're sitting on a bench in the park going, well, you could do this, you could do that. And because Jerry Armstrong was testifying in the Tichborne trial, I believe it was, up in Portland, they used that to try to derail him being on the stand. And they showed an edited version of that, a 20-minute video that looked pretty damning, until the judge found out, wait a minute, this is edited? And you've got how much? 6 hours of footage you're not showing me? I want it all. So that judge kind of derailed that attempt. But Scientology will, not stop at trying to put one over on any judge that they have a chance to get in front of, because they have to. I mean, they can't just tell the truth. They can't stand on the fine reputation of their organization. They have to be doing wacky stuff like that. So in this case, Scientology set Jesse up on a drug charge. And Dennis is going to go through the process that they used to do this. And the judge in this case was nice enough to let me bring in my equipment and tape the entire trial of Jesse. He wouldn't let me do it from within the courtroom. I had to go downstairs to a little media room, and I was allowed to plug into their equipment there and record the audio from the feed. And so I got pretty good quality stuff of the entire trial, although I missed the state's opening argument and came in as Dennis was starting his defense opening argument. And so we're going to listen to that. But the bulk of the testimony is well mic'd, because the witnesses have a microphone. The judge and the attorney's tables, they have mics, so you can pretty much hear most of the action. But in the opening arguments, when like Dennis is walking around talking to the jury, that's not mic'd. So it's the quality isn't that great, and I spent a lot of time trying to boost it. And if you don't mind, let's take a little listen. This is what I brought up before accidentally. This is the original sound that came out of the equipment that was being used in court that day. And I just put Dennis's picture on the front here.
Into the house under a roof, but they get into the house. They look around. Investigation of Jesse Prince. Now, let me stop right here. This is on May 7th now.
Oh, so that was just a very, very brief clip. But you can see, it's quiet, it's noisy, it's not the best, and that was a better segment of it than than much of it. Some of it was incredibly hard to discern. I tried to improve the sound quality, and there were things that the software was trying to figure out exactly what was being said, and I would go back to the original tape with my earbuds in, and had to play it over and over and over and over to create a transcript to actually, get across exactly what was being said. And there are a few sections that were just indecipherable. Anyway, I did what I could, and I labored over this, and I hope that that you'll find it interesting. So in this opening argument, which, as I say, starts as Dennis has already started talking, he's just explaining what you're going to hear from Jesse's defense, what the story is that they'll be sharing. Because Jesse was busted at like 5 a.m. One morning, the Largo police came bursting into his home, guns drawn. He and his girlfriend Dee and her 2 kids, 9 and 13-year-olds, were all asleep when suddenly the police came in, guns drawn, and it was quite a scene with Dee in tears, the kids, panicked over everything, and Jesse being hauled off in handcuffs. And what Dennis was able to do was track down not just, what happened, but who Scientology hired to set up Jesse. And he's going to lay out the entire story of the months and months and months long investigation to ensnare Jesse in some crime. And they got fortunate enough that he had a pot plant in his home. And the PI that was hired to befriend Jesse was welcomed into Jesse's home, had some marijuana with Jesse and Dee, and then went right over to the Largo police and said, we have to arrest this guy, without explaining that this guy's a PI who was hired by the Church of Scientology to get Jesse arrested. So that's what you're going to be hearing from Dennis in greater detail. Let me talk a little bit about a couple of the figures that he'll be mentioning in passing. The actual PI that was hired to befriend Jesse, his name I think was Barry Gaston, and he was a black PI from around Orlando. Lake Wales is the city he was actually in. But Scientology had to go there to find a black PI that could bump into Jesse in the neighborhood bars. And it took them quite some time to do this. Dennis is going to lay out all the details of how that happened. There's another fellow that hired Gaston, and that is Brian Raftery. And Dennis calls him Rafferty through most of the trial. And so did I for years, until I actually went back and looked at the records and looked at the newspaper stories about it. And it's Raftery. And Raftery was, I think, hired by Mike Rinder. He certainly reported to Mike Rinder and to Ben Shaw. And he was paid as their main PI. He was paid $187,000 a year, I believe he testified. So Dennis, with the help of Ray Emmons, who was a retired police lieutenant here in Clearwater, and for 20 years, Ray Emmons had investigated Scientology for the Clearwater Police Department. When Ray Emmons retired from the police force, he became a PI himself. So Dennis hired him to track down the black PI Gaston, and they were able to subpoena him and have him testify in the trial. And I want to prepare that testimony for you. I don't know if I'll get all 6 hours worth of the hearings done, but there are some key testimony, like that guy and Brian Raftery, that I do want to convert and bring back to the world. And yes, it was Mr. Personality Ben Shaw that Raftery reported to at that point. So I may have to stop a couple of times in the course of this if there's something that needs to be explained. I put subtitles on it, so even when it's difficult to hear, you should be able to follow along. Why don't we come right in the middle of this opening argument?
By the way being told. Time at the con.
Hey, why aren't you on stage?
They went to local lounges.
Let me get rid of that. Okay, come on.
Bars.
There we
Wait
go.
until the evening. Watch the television.
Hey, there's nothing to it.
Position.
Let me bring this back.
By the way being told. Time at the con. They went to local lounges, to bars. They waited till the evening hours where they could find Jesse Prince. February 7th, you see that Gaston was hired. Not on almost a daily basis. I should say, on a daily basis. Raftery was following purpose. Sometime during each and every day, he was followed. I think his testimony is going to be, he was never detected. This is that good. Just. But Gaston, time after time, positioned itself from February 7th to April 1st, going to lounges, going to bars, going to places that he might be able to find Jesse in the hopes that he would go there. Night after night, report after reporting. Every day he had to write a report. Where he went, what he saw. Night after night, and nothing. Never saw him in a lounge, never saw him in a bar, never saw him doing anything unlawful, unethical to his fiancée, the 9-year-old and the 13-year-old, so they prefer. Rafferty, Brizio, through cell phone, said, Jesse's going to Wilson's Lounge. He's on his way to Wilson's. Gaston hightails it first to get to Wilson. Gets himself, it's a bar of liquor place, he could have a package store and also a place where you could sit down and have drinks on Elcher Road. Gaston gets in there, he sits at the bar, starts watching the television. Positions himself so you have to walk by him. He's the only black man in the bar. Jesse walks in with Dee. They're the only out in Americas as well. Jesse nods his head, sits hello. Gaston sits hello. They smile. First time. 14 days later, he gets paid dirt again. Now he's still surveillance, still going to lounges, still going to different parts of town, still following. Watching him having dinner on the beach, watching him drive back with his fiancée. Following him, look at him, trying to catch him doing something. Nothing. On the 15th, Gaston gets into Jesse Prince's house. He ends up talking to Prince. Mr. Prince is a very, very amiable fellow. See, I'm doing town. Get an opportunity, you stop by. That's exactly what he did. He was invited in the sense he said he could stop by on this date. He stopped by. Got himself the first dive into the prince's home and began to look around. On April 24th of that year, Gaston becomes confidential informant. Goes to the Largo Police Department. He said, I want law enforcement involved in this. So marijuana plant beside Jesse's house. I need a cop to come in and look at him. So would you get that man arrested? Put him in jail. Never told police about this impeachment information. He never talked to him about what was behind it all. The prosecutor said on May 7th, that's where Mr. Crosby and Mr. Gaston also went into the house under a roof. That they get into the house. They look around.
And Mr. Crosby is is not Bing. He is the officer for the Largo Police Department who joined Gaston then at Jesse's house to see if Jesse did commit a crime.
Investigation of Jesse Prince. Now, let me stop right here. This is on May 7th now. Now, all this time has gone by. Law enforcement comes in and they see what they say is some plans. We kind of what Jesse said stop us. Was he told the law enforcement this? Now, Jesse doesn't know he'd be investigated. Doesn't know his lie he'd be prepared. These people are talking about marijuana. He felt as that marijuana. Jesse says to them, we just bought this house. He indeed just started that house bedroom. He said, when we got into this house, we saw a marijuana grower. We pulled it up, and these things kept growing around the place. And he doesn't know. He talked to the cops. It's not what if he's after the facts. He said, this stuff's growing. That time he had no idea who would put that stuff in his place that's accessible. You can see pictures of his properties. You can walk right back to Jesse's property. There's a lanai that doesn't lock. There's some plants that his girlfriend takes well care of, tropical plants and so forth. They were supposedly a plant in among them.
And Lapita asked, they broke into his home? No, they didn't break into his home. There was a theory, I think, that Dennis was presenting that somebody else could have been putting those marijuana plants into the Jesse's lanai. It was not locked. You could walk to the back of the house. You could plant stuff there if you wanted. So Scientology could have gone and planted them there. So that was one theory that was kind of placed forward. They, meaning Crosby from the Largo Police and the PI, no, they didn't break in. They just lied, befriended Jesse, didn't tell him that they were cops there to investigate.
Was rolling. And this dead rubber tree plant. And you will see the pictures. And as dead as it looked at, as dead as it looks now, it was sitting here, popping up like that. Jesse said, I pulled him out. That grew in its place. This is the evidence they have in this case. That's the evidence they're going to introduce in this case. Is growing out of this dead rubber tree plant. This man went to law enforcement and had law enforcement brought into his home. Well, let's just take it from here on May 7th. See the difference? May 7th to August 6th. That's 3 months. Nothing. Every day that man's being surveyed. Every day he's being looked at. Every day, agents of the Church of Scientology are following that man, telling people by cell phone where he is, what he's doing, what they can expect, where he's on his way to. All had cell phones. All of them were following Jesse Prince. For 185 days. From the time this started until the time of Mr. Prince's arrest, that is what they got. It's looking into that man's life, him not knowing they're looking into his life. That's what it is. Members of the jury, you're going to hear the legal definitions of possession. You would find out he never touched that plant. He never cultivated that plant. He never fertilized that plant. He never watered that plant. You want to hear that from the people that were in that house. The only thing you are to tell you what we did. Yeah, tell you. Gaston was a confidential informant. He never thought that we could back up for that. He never thought. He's insulated, confidential. He's given a number. He was from out of town. By the way, when England Gaston, you don't know that, right? Confidential informant, use fake names. His was Wincy Trinidad. That was his fake name. Chris has no idea who this man was, and then we'll trade it. We hired 2 investigators. We hired 2 investigators. This chip in this state found out, black investigator, found out who Trinidad, maybe. Called him up on the phone. I didn't, probably the investigator did. Got his answering machine. Said to Jesse, listen to the voice of the answering machine. And that. So my 2 private investigators called him up, said, when hired him for a job? And he guessed and said, sure. So he said, what do you want me to do? He says, I want you to sweep a restaurant or what have you. That's when they go in and find out if his employees are stealing and what have you. So Gaston says, okay, I'll be happy to take your job. So my investigators, they go over to Lake Wheel Spark. That's where Gaston would smoke Lake Wheel. And they need the restaurant over there. Jesse's up to call. And Mr. Gaston comes in, shakes the hand of Mr. Patterson, who was supposedly going to be the person hiring. Emmett makes the introduction, excuses himself, gets Jesse. Gaston comes walking around the corner. Gaston goes, oh. Realized right then Jesse knew exactly who he is. Figured out that he's going to figure out what he had done. Figure out who he was working for. What his orders were. There's a rule of confidentiality that Mr. Gaston held pretty close to. Didn't tell anything about what he was doing. Did it for the courts of the church psychology. And he apologized to Jesse. And 45 minutes because of the way he left. People of course room. He's going to testify before they walked outside. And he hugged Jesse. Jesse hugged him back. Went on to what? We'll show you about 3 minutes of this tape. And I'm going to tell you the significance of this. This is when Jesse was arrested. This whole tape is a surveillance tape.
Now, he plays the video to the jury, and I condensed this a little bit. He doesn't play a lot of it. He just plays a couple minutes of it. And this is footage shot from a car across the street from Jesse's house at 5 a.m. And Dennis is going to make a point that the police department, Largo Police Department, doesn't advertise when they're going to do a sting. Somehow Scientology found out that morning, and they don't do that because, you know, the safety of the officers who are going in. You don't want word to leak out to anybody that you're going in guns drawn because there's a hardened criminal who's a major drug dealer living in Jesse's home, apparently. So the jury gets to watch this videotape of Jesse being hauled out of the house in handcuffs. Dee is in tears. This is a pretty major thing. And it was being all videotaped by not the black attorney, a PI rather, Gaston. It was being videotaped by Raftery, who was in the car. And he gets a phone call. You're going to hear the phone ring, and you'll hear him kind of answer.
Nerede koydu?
That was the actual arrest of Jesse Kritz's whole significance of that tape is that police didn't notice it.
Scientology just knew to be there.
Outside that happened. He was out there for one purpose. You watch that video being done. He zoomed in on Jesse. Had to get something in people. Had to get Jesse with the bracelets on her. Did you get that cell phone law? That was rapper cell phone. And I know you heard what he said. He said, oh, 2 words. Not now. Not now. You can watch this thing, which I'm not going to bore you with, from the very beginning. You'll go minute after minute after minute after minute till you just ties his eye on what they are. As he said, wait, to Jesse. You want to take the time of that journal, you watch how long it's waited to get that footage of what this trial is all about. It ain't about this. It's about that. And it's about that. Wait, Teddy Davis once said that old woman, fasten your seatbelts, you're in for a rough ride.
Thank you, Mr. Duplamy.
All right. Well, there you go. I hope you found that interesting, even with the terrible quality of the sound. And, you know, it's just remarkable what Scientology will do to try to destroy somebody. The jury did not find Jesse guilty. Actually, in this case, I thought that they found him not guilty, but turns out when I was reading the news stories about it again, that it was a hung jury. And then the state just said, oh, we're not going to go through this again. Clearly, you know, Scientology's involvement in this is going to make it impossible for us to get a conviction. So Jesse was fine. He was free. But you know, it's nothing that you want to go through. And take it from me, I stood trial. Dennis defended me, even though I knew I did nothing wrong. And I had, for a year before the trial, I felt pretty confident. This will be fine. But during that 25 minutes that it took for the jury to make their decision, I did start to panic a little. Oh, what if they find me guilty? And granted, even if they had found me guilty, it was not a major offense. I wouldn't be seeing any jail time or anything like that. But, you know, it's an uncomfortable position to find yourself in. So there's that. And from that, and I wish I brought this up so I could have read it tonight. But the then St. Pete Times wrote an editorial after this outcome of the trial. And it was a very damning piece about Scientology, explaining everything that Scientology did to try to silence Jesse, and ending with a quote, something along the lines of, this is not like any religion we know, which became kind of a mantra ever since then. Not like any religion we know. All right. Well, that's that. And I was amused by how Dennis decided to close it with the Betty Davis movie quote from All About Eve, and then he gets it wrong. What's the line supposed to be? Fasten your seatbelts. We've got a bumpy ride tonight. Something like that. Kind of a wacky way to have finished that argument, but Dennis is a great attorney, so I'm not going to question him. All right. So if you folks want to hear more of that, I'll bring you some more because I think it is interesting to hear from the the PIs that they managed to track down, like Renzi Trinidad, and hear their testimony. Well, that's all I have planned for tonight. Any comments, any questions? Any rags, any bones, any bottles today? Any rags? Which is a Marx Brothers joke. Groucho says that in one film. Can't remember if it's... I can't remember which one it is. Maybe Duck Soup. Any questions? Any answers? Any rags, any bones, any bottles today? Any rags? Which is something that every once in a while I'll hear, like Keith Olbermann throw in a quote like that. And you go, okay, that's a deep cut. It's nice to know that other people know that quote. And now you know it as well. Yes, that would be interesting, says Lupita. Oh, and Kelly's out there doing a search for the article. Good luck. Looking back here for some other comments I may have missed. Well, I think everybody was just mesmerized by that whole thing, except Marcy, who is yearning for brownies now. Come on by and we can at least share a cookie. Okay. New comments. Look at that. It says new comments. Let's see what's down there. Kelly got nothing. YouTube watcher asks, Mark, I notice you have a lot of nicknames. Which one do you prefer? You know, the one that kind of sticks is Wise Beard Man, just because it became so widely known. The first nickname I had was Mr. Media when I was living in a house full of actors. And, I had my encyclopedic knowledge of movies and TV shows at that point. And, so all the other folks in the place called me Mr. Media. Well, what are we watching tonight, Mr. Media? And they would marvel when they'd say, how long is Jaws? And I'd say, well, it's approximately 1 hour and 58 minutes. And they go, approximately 1 hour and 58 minutes. Okay. I don't know if that's the case anymore or not, whether that's the correct time, but yeah, I was kind of obsessive about that as I was taping everything. I had one of the very first VCRs that were, $700 machine, and taping movies and then just watching them back immediately. Oh my God, this is amazing. I just taped this. I can watch Jaws again for a second time in a row. I don't think you need to do that, but that's the excitement that was in the air when VCRs were new. Question: what happened to Jesse? Well, Jesse's still around. Jesse had a cancer scare that was pretty serious, and he survived, and he's written a book, so you can pick up his book and get much more detail about his life since then. I haven't really talked to Jesse since the LMT years. When there was a rift there, nothing personally, but when Bob and Stacy tried to get Bob out of all the trouble with Scientology because they had frozen Bob's money and he was, suicidal. And so Bob tried to settle with Scientology, which he and Stacy had done before when they were in charge of FactNet. They sat down without attorneys. They sat down with Monique Yingling and Scientology's people to come to a settlement over the FactNet case that would keep, the three guys whose homes were raided, including Dennis Ehrlich, Arnie Lerma, and I forget the Bob Penny. Bob Penny was the third person. Keep them from going to court or going to jail or anything like that. So when it came time for Bob to kind of throw in the towel, they thought, well, we can do the same thing. We'll sit down with Scientology and we'll work out a deal. But it was not that easy. And they wanted an end to all the lawsuits, which they couldn't and wouldn't do. But what they did do was enough to cause the Lisa McPherson civil case to actually settle. Because Bob had been donating or paying for almost the entirety of the civil trial. And there was money that was hidden that Dandar didn't disclose that caused some problems. And Dandar even hid it from his trial consultant, Michael Garko, who had worked for a year without pay because Dandar had told him, I'm sorry, I don't have any money. I can't pay you. Meanwhile, Bob had, given him another $150,000 or $250,000 that was off the books. So there were things that kind of drew it to a close. And what happened is the family reached a settlement. Dandar and the family, they got the settlement that they probably would have gotten if Bob had never financed it. But I know that because Jesse was working on that case with Dandar, he was deeply hurt by that. And so we haven't really talked since then. There really hasn't been a time when we've crossed paths because he's, on the other side of the country. Tori sees him, and he's doing fine. Anyway, there's that. Oh, Professor Kakan is going to rewatch All About Eve. Not bad. How did Jesse get involved in COS? Is that the question? I'm not sure how. He was in it for a long time, though. He actually appeared on stage at one of those great events that Miss Gavage always throws. We had, I've got that tape somewhere. In fact, I think I may have it sitting right over here to my left. I'll have to capture that. There was one event, we had the tape of the Scientology event where Jesse was introduced and came out in his, Sea Org uniform and is giving a talk. I don't know if it's about criminal cases or whatever court cases. But Bob was really upset about the drug bust. But he still had a sense of humor about it. And he had me take the tape of Jesse's appearance. And when he's introduced, he had me playing Everybody Let's Get Stoned as the song as Jesse made his entrance. And then we showed that the people there, really? He was introduced to that song? What? No. We were just having a laugh. So that's that. Yeah, Jesse wrote a book. Yeah, thank you. I've got it sitting in the other room. Expert Witness, Life at the Top of Scientology. He had amazing stories about his time in Scientology, and the fact that let me hide that. The one story was about him having some guns And when there was, some sort of threat, he apparently hauled out the guns and was looking for Miscavige or something. I don't remember the whole story. It's been decades since I've heard it. It's probably in the book, though. In the book. There's a special level of hell reserved for Monique. How about that? COS settled with Lisa's family? Yeah. I don't know the terms of it, but I understand it was something like $5 million. And again, if Bob had not kept that afloat to begin with, they never would have had the financial backing to actually fight that suit for the years that they did. Not that I'm happy with the outcome, but I am, my concern was, okay, Bob killing himself or the Lisa case settling. And I guess I was okay with the settlement, and Jesse wasn't. All right. So I'm kind of bumming myself out. I don't mean to do that because I'm happy, bubbly. But there's lots of entertainment that can distract me now, I'm sure. Speaking of which, I saw Severance last night. Have you seen Severance yet this week? I make the mistake of watching it in the wee hours of the morning. Like I was trying to get to bed last night, and I thought, I'll get to bed relatively early, and then I saw Severance, and oh God, so I gotta watch this. And because it's late or in the early hours of the morning, I'm normally falling asleep in the middle of Severance that I love, and I'll wake up and have to roll it back and play it. It's not the best way to watch it. And I have to say that all the other episodes this year I've loved. I'm not crazy about this new episode. I don't know if it's just because I slept through it and had to rewind. But I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it all deals with one character we have not been following through the majority of this season. It's all her story. And that's a valid thing to do because you do wonder, where is this person? And especially since this actress is an executive producer or some sort of producer on the show, the way all the other actors are, at least the major actors. So this was devoted to her, but without getting to see all, Helly and Mark and all the folks that we want to follow. It was not as favorite of mine as the rest of the episodes. But watch it. You got to watch it because it's Severance. Severance is an amazing show. Well, you can get the season's almost over. I think that was episode 8 last night, and I believe there's probably 10. I think they do seasons of 10. So when the season is over, just do a free trial, and then you can watch them all. Boom, and you'll get sucked in. You'll watch them all. Lupita, did you see that episode from last night? What did you think? All right. I'm a genius. Have you seen the meter in the clay like COS? You mean in Severance? Yes, but I know there was, and I can't remember anything about it now. And it shocks me because I know there was some sort of like e-meter type device in the previous episode. For the life of me, I can't remember what it was. Okay. 2 minutes before behind signing off for now to watch. Don't want spoilers. I try not to spoil. Enjoy, Professor Kakan. All right. So let's call it a night, shall we? And I'll have something fun and exciting lined up for next week. I do have other things that I've been capturing here that I want to put together. And hey, we should have Jerry on the show. We'll do that. All right. It's been a delight being with you, sharing all these bleak stories of PIs and trials. And it's all part of the Scientology story, I tell you. But for now, I'm going to bid you adieu. And you folks enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.
What are your crimes, Mark? Yes, what are your crimes, Mark? Your crimes are hidden, they should be seen. Spin all out, Mark, and just come clean.